Hey everyone, what is up? Pop Daddy here, and it is spooky season, and today is the big day. I've been waiting since early January to do this video. I actually came up with the idea of this one back near Christmas time, and I wanted to do it, but I held off and I waited until the right moment to bring it to you guys, and we're here. So before we get started, I'm just going to give you a little backstory. In October of 1981, author Alvin Schwartz blew the doors off of young adult horror with the horror anthology book Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Now, this was a classic for kids. It raised a lot of controversy due to the scary stories and pants-crapping artwork. It was a huge success. It was later followed up by two other stories. I will get to those a little later. When I was in second or third grade, you would get a couple times a year a Scholastic book flyer, and you would select books from the flyer, and your parents would give you money and write down the numbers of the books you wanted, and you would give them to the teacher. Then a couple weeks later, big box would come in for the teacher. She'd call you up to the front of the classroom, and give you the books that you had ordered, and you'd go from there. I had ordered this one with, I want to say, X-Men Seek and Find, perhaps. That's how it was with me. And I remember seeing this book for the first time, seeing the skeleton's face coming out of the ground with the red nose and the blue cheeks and the pipe, and he's like staring right at you. And I knew I was in for a ride. I had always loved scary stories when I was a kid, and this book was right up my alley. I can remember reading them for the first time, getting scared, seeing that artwork in there, and man, I was in for a ride, and these have stuck with me my whole life. I didn't own the other two books, but later in life, I had bought an anthology of the three books. So although I didn't own the two books, I had them in the trade hardcover. But I love these. These are great stories, and these are scary ones, and this is the perfect season to discuss this. I'm going to be doing 3 videos. This is the first of 3, and afterwards I'll probably combine them all together for your viewing enjoyment. But before we get started, I'm going to give you my scoring system. I'm going to be scoring each story in a way that's my own personal opinion of these stories. Now keep in mind, these are my opinions only. This isn't a set in stone how these stories really are. You can listen to me on these, you can not listen to me. I don't really mind, but this is what I think of the stories. Okay, so first off, bottom of the bottom, we have T for Terrible. These are the ones that I don't really read. I didn't like these. These were a one and done. I read these. These didn't appeal to me. In some cases, they were too long. In others, they were too boring. These are ones I would suggest staying away from. These are ones that I would just push to the side. When I do read-throughs, chances are I'm not going to read these. So bottom tier, T for Terrible. Next rank up, we have Frightfully Forgettable. These are the ones that I forgot about, and I didn't remember until I was doing rereads, thinking, oh yeah, these exist. These may be one and dones. These may be, I forgot all about them, which is why they're in this category. But these are ones that, when I'm doing read-throughs of the books, I may go to those, but chances are I won't. But while doing research for this, I watched some videos on YouTube with the audiobook and looked through the book. I had forgotten some of these, most of these in this category, so FF, Frightfully Forgettable. Next, mid-tier, right in the middle there, we have Campfire Fodder, CF. Now these are ones, you can tell around the campfire, you can tell at slumber parties. These are ones that are going to have an audience. You tell these stories, they're good jump stories, they're good scare stories. These are the stories that will stick with you. These are the ones where you'll tell them to a group, and these are perfect for a group. The next 2 tiers up, they have good stories too, but these are the ones that, you want meat and potatoes to pad out your scary story session. These are the ones you use. All right, now in the silver medal category, we have Scary Good or Good Scare. These are the ones that every time I do a reread of the books, these are included. These are the ones that have good scares. These are the ones that grip you. These are the ones that you like. These are the ones that keep you coming back. These aren't the best, but these are close to it. Some of them slipped through the top categories. Others didn't drop far, didn't drop into Campfire Fodder. but a good scare. These ones are good scary stories, and these are ones that you want to look through during your rereads. And finally, our top one, we have peak horror. These are the ones. These are the stories. I will seek these stories out from the book. These are the stories that I always remember. These are the stories that I will look through the book and read if I'm looking for a good scary story. These are the ones that I will tell to Pop Mama if she's in the mood for a scary story. These are great scary stories. I love these. These are what I remember from the book the most, and these are the ones that are at the top of the list. Now keep in mind, my opinion may differ from yours, and your views may differ from mine, but these are my rankings, and those are the ones that I love. Those are the ones that are at the top of the list. Without any further ado, let's get started. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, released October of 1981. Chapter 1. That's what it's called. Story number 1, The Big Toe. Boy finds a toe in his garden, pulls it with ease apparently, takes it to his dad who cuts it up, or maybe his mom cuts it up for dinner, puts it in the soup, and then they all go to bed. But in that night, when the boy's in bed, he can hear someone yelling, "Where is my toe?" And he can hear it coming through the door, up the stairs, into his room, until a voice screams, "You've got it!" Now, this one here I am putting in campfire fodder. This is a great way to start the book. But here's the thing. There are at least 4 or 5 more stories of someone hearing someone supernatural or deceased call to them and approach them. So I hope you like those stories. This isn't the best one. There are better ones, but it's a good start to the book and a good classic campfire fodder. So that's why The Big Toe goes right in the middle. Next story is The Walk. A person is telling a story about the time his uncle walked through the woods and a man walked along with him, and they kept looking at each other, feeling uneasy about each other, until, that's how the story ends. Just, Now, this one I am putting in Frightfully Forgettable. One thing you will notice about these first chapter of stories is that they pretty much end with yelling, as in you're supposed to be telling the story and then yelling at someone at the end to try and get a scare out of them. The majority of these stories are good campfire fodder, but this one I would put in Frightfully Forgettable. Who do you come for? A woman wishes that she wasn't alone. All of a sudden, down her chimney, body parts fall down. Feet, legs, torso, arms, a head, and then the man dances and dances. And she asks, "Who do you come for?" And of course he says, "I come for you." Then you're supposed to reach out and yell at someone. Like I said, all the stories in here are like that. But this is a good campfire fodder one because of you're not sure where this one's going to go. Like, are they a zombie? They're dancing. So this one is a little bit interesting. Mitai Dodie Walker. This one, I can still remember the look of the head in there. Boy and his dog spend a night in a haunted house where every night at midnight a head comes down the chimney. That's pretty much all there is to it. You can hear man singing and then the dog singing back. This one you could put along with the supernatural or deceased calling out. I personally wouldn't. I would put this one under Frightfully Forgettable or /One and Done, because this one isn't that really appealing to me. I wouldn't read it more than once, but this one, Frightfully Forgettable. A Man Who Lived in Leeds. This is just a short poem about a man's garden. There's an implication that it's symbolism for a man who has his house broken into and then is stabbed in the back. This one is frightfully forgettable because once again you're supposed to yell out to someone at the end, and it just doesn't work in my opinion. So, A Man Who Lives in Leeds, frightfully forgettable. Old Woman All Skin and Bone. Speaking of my school days, I can remember being in kindergarten and my kindergarten teacher singing this to us, playing the record, and we would all lay on the floor as she would walk around us. And I can remember getting the book and seeing that in there. And although the lyrics were different, it still had the same impact on me as it did then. But like with most others in this chapter, I'm gonna put this one in campfire fodder. It's pretty much like lyrics to a song. I wouldn't go seeking it out, but get the right crowd, they might enjoy it. Chapter 2, he heard footsteps coming up the stairs. That is the name of this chapter, and there are a few good stories in this one. So let's get started. Story number 1, The Thing. Two friends are outside of a post office. All of a sudden, they see some sort of creature come out of the field across the street. They run home, and they are in for a shock when one of them tries to touch it. This one is going right to the top, peak horror. I love this story. I can still remember seeing that face for the first time and reading the story about the two friends and thinking, how come the post office is right across from where monsters could be? And this one sticks with you and is one of my favorites. I would tell the story once in a while, and I love this story, and I would highly recommend it. The Thing, as good as John Carpenter's The Thing. Peak horror. Next one, Cold as Clay. This one I'm putting in a good scare. This brings another cliche through these books that we will see again and again, which is they were dead all along. Farmer's daughter falls in love with the farmhand. She moves away. He dies of a broken heart. One night he shows up at her place, gives her a ride back to her father's house. She mentions it. They say that's impossible. He died. They go to his coffin, dig it up, and he was holding a bandana which she gave to him on their ride. This actually isn't the only time you will see that cliche, but this one just makes it to the top, makes it to the line of a good scare between good scare and peak horror. If there weren't as many stories like that, it probably would go right into peak horror. But I say for now it's a good scare. The White Wolf. This is one that it's going right in Frightfully Forgettable. This was a one and done for me. It's an interesting enough story, but it goes on for far too long. It's about a butcher or someone who kills wolves at like $10 a wolf pelt, and then his sheep mysteriously get murdered, then he mysteriously does, and there's no wolves around. It's worth only one read. Like, it's a one and done. So, The White Wolf, going right in Frightfully Forgettable. The Haunted House. If you haven't read this story, you definitely remember the picture of the girl from the story. No, eyes out of their sockets, skeletal face, stringy long hair. This story is about a priest who spends the night in a haunted house for a few nights. This one is terrible. This one was also a one and done for me. I would not recommend it. The only thing it has going for that is that scary picture. I don't have interest in this one. It goes on for a little too long, which is another cliche that you'll see in some of these when the stories go on for a little too long. I begin to lose interest. I like the shorter stories. I like the ones that have more, I don't want to say supernatural element because this one does. The ones that are more padded out with good scares. So, Haunted House, terrible. The Guest. And not only is it our second good scare, it's our second they were dead all along story. Couple spends the night in a older couple's house. They leave for the day. They tell people where they stayed the night. Turns out that house burned down 10 years ago. This is a good one. This one, good story if you are trying to scare certain people. And it's a good one for the younger crowd too. He'll give them a good scare, make them a little uneasy. So, The Guest's good scare. Next category, they eat your eyes, they eat your nose. And those are the lyrics to our first selection here, which is the Hearse song. This is a song where you read it, you're supposed to sing it. I'm not singing it here. You can look it up on the ways to sing it from the audiobook, although pretty sure that guy's not supposed to sing it either, judging by how he does. This one I'm putting in campfire fodder. If you sing along to it, it can be fun. If you're using it as a scary song to try and scare people, it's really good at that too. The Hearse song, campfire fodder. The Girl Who Stood on a Grave. A girl takes a bet at a party that she can go to a graveyard at night, stand on a grave, put a knife in the grave, and no one will come after her. But when she does, someone's grabbing her. Is it a ghoul or is it her imagination? You'll have to read it to find out. This one is a good campfire story. I'm putting it in campfire fodder. I almost put it in a good scare, but it didn't quite hit the mark. It is unique, but I feel that campfire fodder suits it better because it's an average story, but I totally dig it, and I think you will too. What happens when a witch turns someone into a horse and then rides them all over the countryside? Find out in A New Horse. This one is going in Frightfully Forgettable. although I don't hate this story, this one doesn't really appeal to me too much. I don't hate it. It's an average story, but it is forgettable. And actually, I did forget about when before I had done my research for this list. So, A New Horse, frightfully forgettable. In Alligators, a woman marries a man who has a night swimming habit, but whenever he's away, there become rumors that alligators are in the water. Could it be him? Then years later, him and their two sons also go swimming. And when she's up for a swim, she says that alligators try to capture her and make her eat raw fish. That's right, that's what happens when an alligator catches you. They try to make you eat raw fish. And this one is going all the way down in terrible. This one just does not appeal for me. I forget this one exists every time I do a read through. I just didn't care for this one. In Room for One More, a man has a dream that a hearse calls out to him and says, "Room for one more." And the next day, he's waiting for an elevator and he sees the same man say the same thing. He decides not to get on, but then the elevator crashes. And this is also the reason why if someone says "room for one more," I will not get on an elevator. This one is a very good favorite of mine. I'm putting it all the way up in peak horror. This is a great story to tell others. This is a great horror story. This is a great scary story. I really dig this one, and I know you will too if you're a big Scary Stories fan. So Room for One More, all the way down, going up in peak horror. Wendigo, a man going on a hunting trip in the Great North, is worried when his guide starts to act irrationally. Could it be a monster or could it be something supernatural? This one is teetering on the edge of frightfully forgettable and campfire fodder. I put it in campfire fodder because it's the kind of story that you want to tell others. It's one that has a sense of unease with the blowing wind and the rustling of the trees and the yelling creatures in the night and the sense of the unknown. Speaking of which, if you guys have a Halloween party and you decide to tell scary stories, you better prep for this one, The Dead Man's Brains. If you've seen the episode of The Simpsons with the Treehouse of Horror where they all told scary stories, this one was told in that episode. But unlike Homer, don't eat the dead man's brains. This one goes right in campfire fodder. Rounding out this chapter is May I Carry Your Basket. This one I am putting in T for terrible. It's forgettable. It was a one and done. It doesn't really make sense. And I just didn't care for this one. So May I Carry Your Basket in T for terrible. Next chapter, Other Dangers. These are the urban legends. These are the stories that everyone knows. These are the ones that you probably already know. So without further ado, let's get into these ones. First story up is The Hook. You know this one, you love this one. Two people up at a high point looking out over the city. All of a sudden, man escaped from prison. He's got a hook for a hand. And then they hear the scratching and they see the hook. It's a classic. Like I said, you know it, you love it. CF, campfire fodder. It doesn't get more campfire than that. The white gown. What happens when someone buys a white gown for a dance, but it turns out that where the shopkeeper got it from wasn't the most honest person? This one goes in a good scare. This is a great story, and this one also works well with telling large groups. And I remember reading this for the first time, wondering how that could happen. The white gown is a good scare. High beams. This is one that you probably know also. Girl driving, flashing lights. She takes certain roads to get away. Flashing lights keep follow. Turns out there's somebody in the back seat. You've probably heard this one. You probably know this one. It's going right in campfire fodder. That's the kind of story that you tell everyone. And that one will have certain people checking the back seat for the rest of their life. Rounding out this chapter is The Babysitter. Babysitter watching two kids gets a phone call. Have you checked the children? That's not funny. So they keep hanging up. They keep calling back. Before you know it, the call's coming from inside the house. You've definitely heard this story before, or you've seen this movie. The movie When a Stranger Calls is based off of this story, or maybe vice versa, but it is the perfect campfire fodder story, especially if you're telling it to kids that you're babysitting. And finally, our last chapter, but it's not scary, like the first chapter. This is like you're laughing, or it's a relaxed laugh. These are a bunch of stories that do have some enjoyment and they might get a giggle out of you. Story, The Viper. Old lady lives in an apartment. She gets a phone call saying the Viper is coming. The Viper is coming. And you know, this one has a, starts off pretty scary, but there's a twist at the end that you might not see coming, but you might, because this is a dad joke that is loved by many throughout the world. So this one I'm going to put in a scary good scare, or maybe a good laugh in this instance, but because this is a solid one. I enjoyed it as a kid, and you can tell to your kids too, and they might find some hilarity out of it and might make them giggle. Next one, The Attic. The man goes out looking for his dog, hears something back at the house, goes back, goes up the attic, but what happens next will shock you and make you scream. This is a pretty good one. I would put in campfire fodder, because once again, it's got a funny twist at the end, and you know, it'll have everyone on the edge of their seats while you're telling it to them. The Slithery D is like the man who lived in Leeds from chapter 1. This is a short little poem which has a bit of humor to it. It's nothing too long, a little bit short. I put in campfire fodder because it was middle of the road for me. It might be lower for you, or maybe even higher for you. It's got that kind of funny twist that Alvin Schwartz is known for, so be sure to read this at your next campfire. In Aaron Kelly's Bones, he comes back to make sure that his wife doesn't remarry or find anyone else. This one goes in frightfully forgettable. It's not a bad story, but it's not really memorable for me. And I can always remember though, when I was looking through, I remember the picture of him dancing and said, "Oh, how that old man danced." You might find some humor in it. I personally did not. It's also a bit on the longer side for a chapter like this where most of them are short stories / jokes. This one was a couple pages long. I didn't enjoy this one as much as some of the other ones. Also, if any of them are more than a few pages, that immediately puts their appeal rating down for me. A man takes shelter in an old barn and sees 3 cats of unusual size, 1 kitten size, 1 tiger size, and 1 size even bigger. In Wait Till Martin Comes, they're talking about what to do with the guy, and they say, let's wait till Martin comes. Does Martin ever come? Does the man ever find out? Well, I forget, because this one is going frightfully forgettable. This one is a short story, but I just didn't dig it. I put it right there, and I'm confident in my decision on putting it there. The Ghost with the Bloody Fingers. Whenever someone checks into this hotel room, a ghost comes out at midnight and screams bloody fingers, and scares everyone out. But when a hippie checks in, will he check out or will he drop in? That's the term, right? Tune in, maybe? Anyway, this was a favorite of mine as a kid, and I am putting this right in a good scare, because this one was scary and funny at the same time. I love this one. In my opinion, it was the perfect ending to a book. The Big Toe is how we started off. The Ghost with the Bloody Fingers is how we end. We had a decent start, and this book really stuck the landing. This is a good book. If you want to get your younger crowd into spooky stories and stuff, this is the way to start them off. I would highly recommend this book. The imagery is kind of scary, but if your kids can get by that, this is a great read and a good time telling them Halloween season's among us. You're all gonna love it. Once again, thanks for watching, everyone. Now keep an eye on the channel. Please like and subscribe. In the coming weeks, I'm going to do the other 2 books, More Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark and Scary Stories 3, More Tales to Chill Your Bones. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said, like and subscribe, and leave some comments below. Like I said, this is not the set in stone ranking. This is my ranking. These are my opinions. Let me know if you agree with me. Let me know if you disagree with me. Let me know where you would rank what. Let me know if you have any good memories of the book. Let me know if you have any bad memories. Let me know what speaks out to you, what sticks out to you. Also, if I had to pick, the loser of the book would probably be alligators, and the winner would probably be The Thing. Those are my top of the top and bottom of the bottom. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you soon with the next chapter. Peace.